Welcome to the channel. Today, we're sharing a cheating story you won't believe. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Let's get started.
One evening in mid-March, just months before my 50th birthday, the unimaginable happened. I had a heart attack. I was outside, sipping a beer, and waiting for the smoker to heat up. At first, I thought I just coughed the wrong way, but then the pain grew sharper, and I realized something was seriously wrong. It felt like someone was crushing my chest, and my heart was racing like crazy. I fell to the ground and ended up flat on my back, gasping for air. Thankfully, I had my phone with me. It probably saved my life. I fumbled to call 911 and barely managed to say, "Help." Within minutes, I heard sirens, and soon a team of medics surrounded me. I must have blacked out because the next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed, hearing the words, "You're going in for surgery." "Mr. Davis, can you hear me?" A voice asked. "We need to do a heart bypass on you immediately. Do you understand?" I nodded. They put a clipboard under my hand, and I signed my name to some kind of release or maybe an order for Girl Scout cookies. I hadn't a clue, nor did I care. I just wanted the pain to stop. "Is there anyone we should contact?" A nurse asked. My wife. My wife? Is she here?" I asked. "No, you were the only one in the house when the paramedics arrived. They'll have someone check back as soon as possible," she told me. "Now try to relax. We're on the way to the operating room, and you should be fine." At this point, I vaguely knew what was going on, but nothing was really registering in my brain as I was wheeled into an elevator and then into a large, bright room. "Breathe deeply, and when you wake up, it'll all be over," the doctor told me. My life didn't flash before my eyes. I didn't have any out-of-body experience, and thank God I didn't see any bright light at the end of a tunnel. I just woke up in the recovery room to a middle-aged nurse standing over me, taking my pulse. "How are you feeling?" she asked. I tried to say something, but my mouth was too dry. Even though my mind was working, my body wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. "Don't worry, you'll feel much better in a couple of hours. Just get some sleep," she said. She was right. The next time I awoke, I felt a lot better yet worse all at the same time. There, sitting next to my bed, was my wife of 30 years, Sophia. "Are you all right?" When I got home, the neighbors told me what happened. "The doctor said you're going to be just fine," she said, smiling. My mouth was still very dry, so when I started to say something, I could barely get it out. "Leave me alone," I started to say, but it came out softer than a whisper. "What are you trying to say?" Sophia said, moving close to my mouth. "Get out of my sight and leave me the hell alone," I said loud enough for her to hear this time. "Honey, don't try to talk. Just lie back and rest. They'll be right here," she told me, touching my cheek. At that point, my heart rate shot up, my face became flushed, and a nurse came running into my room to see what was going on. "Leave me the alone," I now shouted at her. "Miss, you're going to have to leave. You're upsetting the patient and raising his vitals." "Please leave, miss," the nurse told Sophia. "But I'm his wife," she stammered. "Be that as it may, you're upsetting him, and I need you to leave right now." "Hon, he'll be in the hallway if you need me," she said, looking back at me as she was ushered from my room. I motioned to the nurse, and she came close. "No visitors, please," I told her, "and only discuss my condition with me, no one else." "I understand, Mr. Davis. They'll put a sign on your door that says no visitors are allowed, and they'll make sure the doctor discusses your condition only with you. Will you be needing anything else?" she inquired. I nodded no. "Well, that being the case, please try to relax and get some sleep. The doctor will be in later to check on you. You don't get any rest in a hospital. If they're not jabbing you, they're taking blood or trying to give you some damn pill in the middle of the night." "Sleep? Yes, sure, lady," I thought to myself. The doctor came in and said everything had gone according to plan. They had done a triple bypass, and when they'd gone in, they'd seen evidence of other damage, as they like to call it, from an earlier attack. I told him that it probably happened about 5 months earlier, but I had thought it was just a stress attack. "You're very lucky, Mr. Davis. If you hadn't had your cell phone, you might not have made it," he explained. "You really need to get your weight and blood pressure under control, or you're going to end up seeing me again," he said while looking at my chart. "I want you out of the bed tomorrow morning. I need you to start walking at least 10 minutes every hour, and after that, we'll see how it goes." "How long will I be laid up, Doc?" I asked. "If you're asking me when you can go back to work, the answer is not for at least 3 months. When you go home, you'll need someone there at all times, at least for the first couple of weeks. After that, we'll play it by ear depending on how you feel." "Doc, I won't be rehabbing at home. So can you recommend a good facility? Well, there is a pretty good one about 5 miles from here that has a great workout area and a dietitian on staff, he told me. All you need to do is have our business office call and set it up for you. Let me warn you though, it is kind of pricey, but it's got an excellent reputation. By the way, you've had a lot of visitors, and a few of them became a little irate when they were informed that you'd requested no visitors or phone calls, he said with a puzzled smile. I guess you had your reasons, but hate to be in your shoes when you go home, he said, walking out the door. Who said I was going home? I thought. A week later, I was sitting in a private room in the rehabilitation center. It overlooked the outdoor pond and was more like a hotel suite than a hospital room. I was given a full physical screening and asked how long I planned on staying. Let's plan for 3 months and go from there, I told the coordinator. Mr. Davis, you're about 60 pounds over your ideal weight and not in the greatest physical shape. We need to get you in the gym and set you up with an exercise routine, but first, we're going to get you on a good nutritional program to get your weight more in line. It's not going to be easy, but if you follow the staff's instructions, you'll see results. So with that said, we'll take you down to the gym so you can get started. Well, you've got me for the next 3 months, so do with me as you wish, I said with a laugh as we proceeded to put a recovery program in place. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this condition. The reason's simple: I'm too good at what I do for a living. I'm not bragging or saying that to pump up my ego, it's a fact. I have a certain knack for finding the best people for the job, making sure they're fully trained, and finally letting them do what I've hired them to do. I learned a long time ago that I couldn't do it all. I tried for a while, but it almost killed me. Now I sit back and let others do their jobs. I give them a project, tell them what results the customer is looking for, and then turn them loose to do what they do best. Life is now good. You see, I'm the sales manager for a marketing firm. I've been with the company for 24 years, and a couple of years ago, I became a silent partner. No one, and I do mean no one, including my wife, knows this. 6 years ago, I took a 18% reduction in salary to buy into the company. I've got 3 more years left, and he'll be a 50 owner with my buddy, Jake. Sound like I've got it together? Well, I do when it comes to my business life. However, my personal life is another matter. I've got 2 spoiled kids and a social climbing wife. My youngest, Lucas, made it through college by the skin of his teeth and was more than a little upset when I didn't offer him a position in the company. I just told him family and business don't mix. Between you and me, though, I didn't want to have to be the one to fire his lazy ass when he didn't work out. He did find a nice girl and got married, but he still hits me up for money about every other month. I guess I never learned how to say no to him, but no more. Chloe, who is 2 years older than Lucas, is a professional student. I think she's on the 6-year graduation plan. She's changed her major 3 times, and I haven't a clue what it is at the moment, but no matter. At the start of this school year, I told her she had 1 semester left to finish, and after that, she was on her own. She went to her mother and complained, and when Sophia approached me, I just told her enough was enough. You kind of see where I'm going with this, don't you? I'm done being the nice guy with the open checkbook. At 27 and 24 years old, I shouldn't have to support them any longer, and am not going to. They are now officially off my payroll. As for my wife, Sophia, that's a whole other story. About 5 months ago, I was feeling a little frisky one night. Our sex life had gone down a lot over the previous year, and I was trying to jumpstart it to where it should be. I'm not looking for sex 5 times a week, but 3 would be nice. Well, where was I? Oh yeah, after dinner, I gave her a glass of wine and asked her if she was in the mood. For what? She asked. You know, how about you and I go upstairs and have a little fun? I said with my sexiest smile. I'm a little tired tonight, and you know I have that party to plan for, was her reply. Come on, Sophia. It's not like I'm asking for a kidney, just a little loving. I should have known it wasn't going to go as planned since Sophia looked about as interested as someone sitting in a dentist's chair awaiting a root canal. We undressed, got into bed, and that's when the complaint started. I was taking up too much room, she was hot, I was sweating, and finally, she didn't want me lying on top of her because gained too much weight. Why don't you climb on top, babes, and ride me like you used to? I suggested. You know I have a hard time getting off that way, Sophia whined. Okay, just forget about it, I said, getting off the bed and walking towards the bathroom. Where are you going? To beat my meat in private so I don't have to hear you whine about how unpleasant it is to have sex with me anymore, I said as I slammed the door. I took the matter in hand, so to speak, and when finished, I headed to our spare bedroom. Now where are you going? She called out. Away from you before I say something I regret, I replied, slamming the door. She was right, gained a lot of weight in the last couple of years. I guess I should be taking better care of myself, but gotten lazy. I had taken up golf, but that was more just to bring a new business. I didn't like it much and really sucked at it. The only good thing that came out of joining the Riverwood Club was that they were always having some type of activity. I was gone the next morning way before Sophia even got up. I was still pissed, but it mellowed a little bit. I guess it wasn't all her fault, I said to myself as I sat at my desk eating a donut and washing it down with my second cup of coffee. It was about 10 when I got an email from Sophia at her work. There was no "I'm sorry" or "I love you," but only how she wasn't in the mood last night, and instead of talking to her about it, I had just left in a huff. I put my coffee down and tried to think back to the last time we'd had what consider a good lovemaking session. Lately, it was a quickie, a hand job, or her just lying there waiting for me to finish. It really had gone downhill, and it seemed that Sophia would rather do without than do it with me anymore. That's when I got an epiphany. Maybe she's getting her needs satisfied somewhere else. That's when I decided to push the issue and see what happens. What the hell? What was she going to do? Cut me off? I replied with the following email: "Whatever you're doing with whomever, you'd better stop right now if you want to stay married to me." When I hit the send button, I knew get some type of reaction, but I thought she'd at least wait until I got home. Sophia sent a scathing email and laid into me about how dare I accuse her of cheating, that I was the problem with our sex life, not her, and that since I got winded just walking up 2 flights of stairs, what kind of sex life was I expecting? That maybe she should get an oxygen tank and put it next to the bed for the nights I wanted sex. And those were some of the nicer comments she wrote back. Her final comment was that maybe I should move to the guest room permanently so that she wouldn't be held responsible for me having a heart attack. My response was short and to the point: so be it. I didn't go home for supper that night. I ate with my partner, Jake. I thought about not going home at all, but I figured that would make matters even worse. Sophia was waiting for me when I came through the door. "How dare you? How dare you accuse me of cheating?" she yelled. "I have never been unfaithful in all the years we've been married." "Well, I figured if you're not getting it from me any longer, you must be getting it somewhere else," I said, not backing down. "So if you don't mind, I'm tired, and since all you're going to do is yell at me, I might as well go to bed," I told her. "So I assume not sleeping in our bedroom any longer?" she said sarcastically. "What's the point? You don't want me there any longer, and I don't go where I'm not wanted," I said, climbing the stairs. "Sleep by yourself? See if I care," Sophia said, screaming as I climbed the stairs. It was then that my chest first started to hurt. Every step I took was agony, but I wasn't about to stop. I barely made it to the top landing before I had to rest against the wall or fall down. One of the two. I made it to the spare room, fell down on the bed fully clothed, and passed out. When I finally awoke and looked at my watch, I saw it was 2:30. I can't let her get to me like that, I told myself as I went to the bathroom, splashing water on my face. I looked in the mirror and didn't like what I saw. "I've got to get it together," I told myself as I stripped off my clothes, which were soaked with sweat. I slept in until almost 9 the following morning. The house was quiet. Sophia had already left, so I called into work and told them I was taking a vacation day. Instead of relaxing at home, I went to my doctor. "You've got to drop at least 60 pounds, he told me, "and your blood pressure is sky high. I'm going to prescribe you something to bring it back down to earth, but if you don't start taking better care of yourself, you're asking for serious trouble," he warned. Heard it all before, at least for the last 2 years. I tried to diet, but it just wasn't something I liked to do, and so I didn't. I told him I would try to drop some weight and would take the meds. He set me up for a 3-month follow-up appointment, and I left with a chart on calories and 2 diet programs to try. I threw them on the back seat of the car. Things around the house turned chilly at best. We no longer ate together and only spoke to one another when we absolutely had to. It was the end of our 2nd month when we started talking to one another again. There was no "I'm sorry." We only talked about superficial things or the kids. Friday was the annual benefit gala at the club. "Ethan, are you going?" Sophia asked. "Yes, I'm going," I replied. "Well, we might as well go together." "Is your tux pressed?" she asked. "Cleaned, pressed, and ready to go." It was a quiet ride to the club. We talked about nothing important until I took the lead. "I'm sorry," was all I said as I drove on without looking at her. "I am too," Sophia replied. "I've missed you, and I don't want to fight anymore." That's all we had time for as I pulled up to the club. I gave the attendant my keys, and he gave me the claim ticket. I walked around, opened Sophia's door, and gave her my hand. She took it, smiled, and my heart skipped a beat. We walked into the dining room and found our table. Dinner was okay, but the wine was a lot better. Ordered 4 bottles for our table, and along with the other 3 couples, we toasted to our good health. After the dinner, the band started, and people began to dance. I danced one slow dance with Sophia, and that was more than enough for me. She asked if I minded if she danced with a few other men. No problem, I told her. I walked around the room and was visiting with a few friends when I caught sight of Sophia on the dance floor. It was a slow dance, and I didn't recognize the man she was dancing with. His arm started around her waist but was slowly moving south. Before long, it was resting on the center of her ass. 2 dances later, the same thing happened again as they danced outside onto the moonlit patio. I followed, staying out of sight. They were too far away for me to hear what they were talking about, but their body language was speaking loud and clear. When he bent over and kissed her, seen enough. Not staying for the auction? The parking lot attendant asked. Nothing in there I want anymore, I replied as I got into my car and headed out. I was about 20 minutes away when my cell phone rang. Guess who? I turned it off and put it on the seat next to me. I had been home about 2 hours when Sophia stormed in. What the hell is your problem? Why did you just up and leave me? She yelled. I thought the 2 of you wanted to be alone, I replied. What the hell are you talking about, Ethan? The dark-haired man, the patio, the kiss, he saw it all, I told her. That was nothing, she shot back. Nothing? Are you saying that a man kissing my wife is nothing? Well, I care to differ, Sophia. And I suppose you're now making it a habit to let men feel you up while you dance with them? I and everyone else saw your display on the dance floor, I told her. Or was I just imagining it? Ethan, it's not what it looked like. I guess I should have asked Ryan to move his hand, but it was all just a little innocent flirting, she told me, and the kiss was nothing more than him thanking me for dancing with him. I left a look for you right after that. And it took you 2 hours to come back home? Since you weren't answering your phone, I had to find someone to give me a ride home. Let me guess, Ryan just happened to volunteer to drive you home. Am I right? Yes, it was Ryan, and no, nothing happened. She tried to assure me as I started to walk away. Damn it, nothing happened. Ethan, she said again. How long has it been? I asked. How long has what been? How long ago did you give up on us? I said, walking up to my new and permanent room. God damn it, Ethan, I didn't do anything. She screamed at me as she started to cry. I guess it was shortly after I gave up on myself, was my final comment as I closed and locked the bedroom door. I never left the bedroom Sunday. I slept in and did a lot of thinking about how my life had turned out. I had 2 grown children that I never heard from unless they wanted something, and a wife who I was basically cohabitating with, something like a sister. I needed to get away for a few days. Our lakeside cabin was about an hour's drive from the house. It had been my parents', and when they passed on, I bought out my brother's share and redid the interior. Monday, I threw together a few things and headed out. A quick call to work, and I was on my own for the next 4 days. I just needed time alone to sort out a few things without Sophia hovering over me. As soon as I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. I hadn't been there in at least 6 months, and when I left, the place was immaculate. Someone had been here since then. There was an empty bottle of wine on the counter, and after a quick inspection, I found that our bed had been slept in. Not only slept in, someone had had sex on the bed. I could still see the ring left from what was the wet spot on the white sheets. Well, I now know where, and Ethan, old buddy, it looks like you've been replaced, I said to myself as I started to get angry again. The hell with all of them. I don't need them. I used to, but not anymore, I told myself. Over the next 4 days, I made up a list of what I wanted out of life, where I wanted to go, and none of it included any of my family. It was something like a bucket list without having to kick the bucket. I got home late Friday afternoon, but Sophia was nowhere to be found. She never came home that night, and by Friday afternoon, I decided to smoke a rack or 2 of ribs and wait for her. I was almost looking forward to her explanation of where she'd been for the past 2 days when all hell broke loose, and I had my heart attack. So that now brings you to where I am currently. I finally called Jake from the rehab place to tell him I was still alive and kicking. They wouldn't put my calls through, he told me. How are you feeling? Better, but still pretty weak. It looks like I'm going to be laid up for a couple of months. I need Karen to bring by my laptop so I can keep in touch and update it. You think that's wise? Jake replied. Don't worry, I won't overdo it. But between Karen and me, we'll keep everything current, I told him. You know your wife was here the other day. She took something off your desk. I think it was that picture of the 2 of you. You guys doing okay? He asked. Never better. Just have Karen drop off my computer, And for God's sake, please don't tell anyone where I am. I sure as hell don't need any visitors, I told him. By the way, I'm milking our health insurance for everything I can get out of it, I said with a laugh. That's what it's there for. Just get better and let me know if you need anything, buddy. Bastards, that's what I called them after the second week. First, they tried to work me to death in the gym, and now they're trying to feed me no more than a few scraps of food. I've seen bigger appetizers, I said to myself, looking at my dinner plate. I was exercising 4 times a day and eating 5 meals a baby couldn't survive on, but I was losing weight. After about 5.5 weeks, I was less crabby and into the groove. The food sucked, and there was never enough, but I liked what was happening to me. I could walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes without oxygen. My pants were loose around my middle, and for the first time in a long time, I started feeling better about myself. Damn it, I can do this, I told myself. When the Goodwill truck pulled onto the driveway, Sophia thought they were just using it to turn around. Mrs. Johnson? The driver asked. Yes, I'm Mrs. Johnson. I've been given a pickup order with instructions to get with you, he told me. What pickup order? I never ordered a pickup. I know that, miss. It was initiated by your husband, Ethan Johnson, he said, showing me his signature on the bottom of the page. It says here to pick up every piece of clothing in the house that belongs to your husband. The note explained that they're not already boxed up. So if you don't mind, could you please show me where things are so we can get started? We've still got one more pickup this afternoon. I showed them Ethan's closet and dresser in our bedroom and took one of the workmen downstairs to where his winter clothes were stored. It took them just under an hour to get everything boxed up and put into the truck. I signed their receipt and got my copy before they drove off. What the hell is he doing? I thought to myself. After the blow-up in his room, I was not allowed to see or speak to Ethan while he was in the hospital. The doctor wouldn't tell me how he was doing or when he would be released. When Ethan wouldn't see Lucas or Chloe, I really got worried. I know he was mad at me, but that was no excuse not to see his kids. Thursday, I snuck into the hospital and climbed the stairs to his floor. There was no way that nurse was going to keep me out this time. I waited until she was at the other end of the hall and then ran into Ethan's room, bursting through the door. Why won't you talk to me? I shouted. A stunned woman looked at me and replied, Because I don't know you, she said, trying to figure out what the hell this crazy woman was doing in her room. All right, where have you moved Ethan Johnson? I shouted to the nurse at the front desk. I'm sorry, he's gone, she replied. My eyes teared up. When? How? I asked. What did they do with his body? I'm his wife, damn it. I have a right to know, I said, getting angry again through my tears. When I said he was gone, I mean he checked out 2 days ago. If you want any more information, you'll have to go down to the office. So if that's all, I have a floor of sick people to take care of, she told me. The business office said Ethan had been discharged and had been sent to a rehab clinic, but they were not at liberty to tell me where. Patient's orders, I was told. Great, back to square one, I said to myself, walking out the door. Sitting in my car, I planned my next move. Ethan was right giving up on the two of us a long time ago. His weight had skyrocketed, and whenever I said something about it, he told me not to nag him. When we did have sex, he was like a huge sack of potatoes lying on top of me. When I told him he was crushing me, he'd get upset and try to finish on his arms or elbows. By that time, I was just happy to have him finish and get off me. Sex with him was no longer enjoyable, and when he even mentioned the word sex, my stomach would tighten up. We did it maybe once a month, and that was only after he whined about it for a day or two. I guess you could call it pity sex because, although he got off, I never did. I was getting really frustrated, and that's when Ryan came into the picture. I first met Ryan when we joined the Riverwood Club. They had a dinner and dance once a month, and he would always come alone. During the night, he would dance with all the available women. As the evenings progressed, Ethan would be off drinking or feeding his face, and Ryan and I would dance the night away. It had been a long time since anyone had held me like that. Soon, the routine became one of dancing a few numbers and then sitting and talking on the patio until it was time to leave, or until I spied Ethan looking for me. After a couple of months, we met for lunch one Friday afternoon while Ethan was off golfing. We had a couple of glasses of wine, and everything just seemed so right. We ended up in the back seat of his car, making out like a couple of teenagers. We did everything there was to do without taking our clothes off. I jacked him off, and he fingered me until I climaxed at least twice. It had been so long since I would felt this way. We straightened our clothes, kissed goodbye, and I headed back to the house. I didn't even feel guilty until I was in the shower, trying to get myself off again while thinking about Ryan. What the hell was I doing? I'm fooling around with some guy in the back seat of his car, and now I'm trying to get off while thinking about him instead of my husband. How sick is that? I said to myself, getting disgusted at what I was doing. The problem was, I no longer felt sexually attracted to my husband. I nagged Ethan for the next 2 weeks about his weight and tried to tell him how sexy he'd be if he lost 50 pounds. But he never got the hint. He just got angry with me again. Everything came crashing down when he wanted to fool around one night after dinner. It was a disaster of a session, and he got mad and went into the bathroom. I felt bad, but not that bad. He slept in the spare room that night and was gone before I got up the next day. I had the dark brown touch the following morning at work. Everything I touched turned to shit. I was feeling sorry for myself and did something stupid. I emailed Ethan and basically told him that it was all his fault last night because he'd walked out on me. He, however, came back with a real eye-opener. However, I was cheating with, better stop if I still wanted to stay married, was all it said. There was no way he could possibly have known about that Friday. However, if he were taking care of business at home, it never would have happened. And it's not like we had sex or anything. It was only a little fooling around. That's all. I guess I never should have answered his email when I was mad because I called him everything I could think of. I told him never cheated on him, and if he weren't such an overweight slob, would have more sex. I now realized that I was basically pushing him away, and I guess he was tired of arguing. That's when he replied back that maybe he should stay permanently in the guest room if I no longer wanted him anymore. It was now spiraling out of control. When Ethan got home, we had a huge argument. We threw accusations at each other, and he went one way, and I the other. I slept alone that night and for many, many nights after that. It was the night of the benefit gala that we finally apologized to each other. It had been tearing me apart, but I guess we were both too stubborn to admit we were either wrong or what the real underlying problem was. We had a wonderful dinner. Ethan danced with me and then decided to mingle with his friends. I made the mistake of dancing with Ryan. We danced maybe a little too close, and out on the patio, he told me he wanted to take it to the next level, and then he kissed me. I told him that it had been a mistake and that I would never cheat on my husband and left him out there licking his wounds. I never saw Ethan leave, nor did anyone else. The parking lot attendant told me he had left about a half hour earlier, and when I called him, it went right to voicemail. I was pissed and had one too many drinks before realizing I have to find some way home. Ryan came over and asked what was the matter. Ethan got mad for some reason and left. He won't answer his phone, and I need to find a way home, I said. Diana, after the auction, they'll give you a ride home, he said. I shot him back the look, and he'll keep my hands to myself also, he assured me. I drank halfway through the auction before we left. On the ride home, I started getting angry all over again. How could he just leave me there? I fumed. I guess Ryan saw how angry I was and told me to relax. When he pulled into the parking lot by the lake, I was surprised, and when he reached over to kiss me, I didn't stop him. The only reason we didn't go all the way that night was a police car making its rounds through the parking lot. When he hit the car with his spotlight, I sobered up in one hell of a hurry. Ryan, take me home now, I demanded. When I got home, I thanked him and ran to the house. I was almost sober but angry as hell all over again. When Ethan accused me of cheating, I went ballistic. What cut me to the core was when he asked me when I had given up on our marriage. I crashed inside and started to cry, telling him that never cheated on him, but he no longer believed me. Sunday, Ethan never left his room, and I didn't push it. I figured we'd have words Monday, and I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row. When he didn't come home Monday night, I just thought it was his way of punishing me. When he didn't come home Thursday, I called his secretary, Karen, and was told that he had taken a couple of days vacation. The bastard is off somewhere sulking, I said to myself. Well, two can play that game. I left Wednesday to spend a couple of days with my daughter up at college. We had a great time bonding and even had a girls' night out with a couple of her friends Friday night. Friday morning, I woke up with a hangover and an upset stomach. Guess I'm too old for that kind of partying anymore, I said, dressing to leave. I said goodbye to my daughter, thanked her for the good time, and drove home. I had no more than gotten out of my car when my next-door neighbor came running over. Ethan was taken by ambulance to the hospital this morning, she told me. The front door was shut, but the lock was broken. I ran inside and saw a few things had been moved around and could smell the smoker on the deck. The coals were almost out, but there were 2 slabs on the grill. I took them off, put them in the refrigerator, and opened up the yellow pages. There were only 2 hospitals in our area. I called Sunnybrook Medical Center and hit pay dirt. Ethan had been admitted, but they wouldn't give me anything over the phone. I changed and headed out. A triple bypass, I almost shouted. How long will he be in surgery? I asked. About another hour, I was told. There's nothing you can do but wait. He's got a great doctor, and we caught it in time. From surgery, he will go to post-op, and from there, he will be assigned a room. If you wait in the lounge, they'll come and get you when they're finished. Can you say had? Because that's exactly what I felt like. He could have died. I kept saying over and over to myself, when I get him home, I'm going to show him how much I love him. We'll get through this together. But I wasn't given the chance. I finally tracked him down to the rehab clinic, but he still refused to see me. I was getting pissed. Stubborn was one thing, but Ethan was carrying this to the extreme. He must have found out somehow about what happened with Ryan. I don't have a clue how, but someone must have seen us and told him. I just need the chance to explain to him that nothing really happened, but he was avoiding me like the plague. Jake and Karen weren't much help, but when I found out he had his laptop, I sent him an email, although not like my last one. Ethan, I love and miss you, honey, and I don't understand why you won't let me see you. I know we've had some issues lately and we've both said things in anger, but I love you and I still believe you love me. Please give me the chance to explain anything you think I've done or not done. Ethan, I need you and want to grow old and gray with you. If you won't let me see you, at least talk to me. Also, the kids don't understand why you won't see them. They came to the hospital, and when the nurse wouldn't let them in your room, Lucas got more than a little angry. Please drop them a line because they're very concerned also. Your loving wife. I was sending an email to a salesman who had lost a big order out of sheer stupidity when Sophia's email popped up. I finished reaming the salesman, telling him if it happened again, he'd be on the outside looking in. Then I got back to Sophia. I read it 3 times before I responded back to her. Dear Sophia, let's cut to the chase. You haven't been my loving wife in well over a year. It's true I've put on a lot of weight, but when you got as big as a house while pregnant with Lucas, did I belittle you? Fat or skinny, I'm the same man you married all those years ago. Don't try blowing smoke up my ass now that I'm laid up. You no longer have any interest in going to bed with me. You made that perfectly clear the last time we were together. From what I've seen and found out, it looks like I've been replaced by Ryan or whomever. I found your love nest. You could have at least done me the courtesy of changing the sheets and throwing out the trash. I did manage to toss out the mattress and empty wine bottles. You are right about one thing, though. We will both grow old and get gray. It's just that we won't be doing it together. Your soon-to-be ex-husband. That should shut her up, I said to myself as I hit the send key. I made a list of all my assets. Sophia was going to get 50 of everything she knew about. It's the things she didn't know about I wanted to make sure were kept secret. Jake told me that if he was asked by the court, he'd have to reveal I was a partner, but if they just wanted to verify my wages, that's all he would give them. The cabin was mine, a gift from my parents, and we could just keep the cars we were each driving to make it simple. I guess everything else would be thrown into a big pot, and we'd each get half. I was satisfied with that. What love nest? Sophia's reply. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Our bedroom is the only love nest I know about. If you're accusing me of something, at least have the courtesy to confront me instead of playing these childish games. I guess this mode of communication is as good as any. I replied back to her. How stupid do you think I am? I went up to the cabin and found all the evidence. Too bad I was up there the week before my heart attack. Did you spend Friday and Friday at his place, or did he spring for a hotel room this time? I thought that should shut her up, but it wasn't more than 10 minutes before I had her reply. Hell, this is the most we've conversed in the last 5 months. Call your daughter up and ask her. Chloe spent Wednesday through Friday morning with her up at college after you so graciously disappeared Monday without telling me. And for your information, I haven't been back to the cabin since you and I were last there about 6 months ago. So if that's all you've got, it's pretty pathetic. Could I be wrong? Regardless, the last 2 years of our marriage have been a real turnoff. Lucas, Dad here, is how I started the conversation with my son. Yes, I'm fine and doing pretty well. And no, I don't want to discuss your mother right now, I told him. Now came my bluff. I know you've been cheating on Grace, and I want it to stop before I call her and rat you out, you piece of shit. Dad, I don't know what you're talking about, Lucas replied. Lucas, I was up at the cabin, and our neighbors said they saw the two of you when you went up there. You didn't even change the sheets, you asshole. What do you think Grace is going to say when I call her? If she doesn't shoot your ass, her brothers are sure to pay you a visit, I said, still fishing. It was only that one time, Dad. You've got to believe me. It's not an affair, it was only one time. And she doesn't even work at the company anymore. I could hear him pleading for his life. I'm going to say this one time, and one time only. If I ever hear of you fooling around or even think you're looking at another woman, I will call Grace in a heartbeat. From now on, Shed better be the happiest and most taken care of wife on the face of this earth, if you get my drift. Get your head out of your ass and grow up. God damn it. I will, Dad. You can count on it. Please just don't call Grace, he begged. All right, son. I've got to go. Remember what I told you. I warned him before hanging up. Well, that was interesting, I said to myself as I considered my next move and wrote one last email to Sophia. Well, I guess you weren't screwing anyone up at the cabin. It turns out it was our son. That, however, still doesn't explain your actions with Ryan and whomever else. I guess I was still in love with you up to that night, but no more. I think you still love me, but you haven't been in love with me for a very long time. I'm sorry to say, and I can't live like that anymore. Life is way too short. I found out in a very painful way. That's how I ended it. I was to blame as much as Sophia. We knew we were drifting apart and never did anything to stop it. Between her work, the kids, and her social calendar, there was no time left for us. And with me trying to conquer the business world all by myself, I was no better. The only difference was that Sophia looked as good as when I first met her, and I looked like someone out of Slobs Are Used magazine. But no more. I spent the next 3 months doing nothing but exercising and eating right. The first 35 pounds dropped off fast, but then I hit the first of many plateaus. I never let up, though. I was now driven to regain what lost years agony waste and, most of all, my life. Sophia and I emailed each other every week to keep one another updated on what was going on in our lives, but we never saw one another. After 6 months, I half expected to get divorce papers, but none ever came. Our emails mostly dealt with how we felt about one another and our breakup, the problems each one of us saw in our marriage, and why we did nothing to resolve them. As I said earlier, we were both at fault. Autumn festival sucked. The kids split their time between the two of usher dinner and my dessert. Lucas announced that Grace was pregnant, and Chloe said she'd finally gotten her degree or would have it by the end of the semester. I laughed and said believe it when I see it. They tried to pump me for information, but I told them it was none of their business. Chloe got a little huffy but backed off when I told her enough was enough. Our email during the holidays took on a new direction, but I still can't tell you how it happened. They became more intimate and emotional. One night, Sophia asked if I remembered the first night we ever did it. Our roommate's parents walked in on us. I corrected her, telling her that time didn't count because we never had a chance to actually finish. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that we finally did the deed, and so on. We walked down memory lane for almost a month. For winter holiday, I sent her a pair of emerald earrings. I know that she didn't have a pair because she had given hers to Chloe on her 21st birthday. I just put in a little note to replace the ones you gave up, is all it said. Sophia never sent me anything for winter holiday, but I guess I really didn't expect anything. As New Year's approached, Jake hit me up with a problem. Ethan, my wife's sister, is coming into town, and Ethna wants to take her with us to the spring gala party at the Riverwood Club. Her sister won't go stag, and Ethna refuses to leave her at home by herself. Can you be a buddy and be her date spring gala? Come on, Ethan, I'll owe you big time. He must have begged for a week before I finally relented. What the hell? I was just going to sit in front of the boob tube anyway. I then realized it was formal, and I no longer had a tux. It took me 3 stores and a huge bribe to get a tux and have it tailored in less than a week. Wait until Jake sees my expense report for December, I said with a laugh. Lucas and his wife invited me over for spring gala, but I told them I was going out. You've got a date? He asked. Not a date. I'm chaperoning my boss wife's sister, I told him. You don't have to lie to me. I won't tell Mom, he replied. I'm not lying, and your mom probably already has a date for spring gala herself. So why don't we just drop it? I said, getting a little annoyed. That was the one thing neither one of us had mentioned over the last 9 months if either one of us was dating. Gone to a few business lunches, but that was about it. I wasn't sure about Sophia, though. A good-looking woman like her probably has had a full dance card. We were still married, but basically in name only. I guess after the first of the year, we should probably address that issue, I said to myself. I was at Jake's house by 7. He let me in, and I met Sue, Ethna's sister. She was about 45 and very nice on the eyes. I suggested that we go in one car, but Jake insisted that we take 2 cars. Look, after the dance, you can head home, and I'll take the 2 women back with me. That is unless you plan on trying to get lucky with Sue, he said, elbowing me in the side as Ethna told him to act his age, not his shoe size. The place was packed, and there wasn't an open seat to be had. I knew most of the people at our table as they marveled at how good I looked. Wow, Ethan, how much weight have you lost? Somewhere in the area of 75 pounds, I told them. Hell, if I didn't know you so well, I never would have recognized you, one told me. Dinner was decent with a choice of steak or chicken, and along with the vegetables and rice, it was palatable. I ate about half. There was no use blowing my diet tonight. I had one glass of wine and nursed my second as I reacquainted myself with people I hadn't seen in the last 9 months. Afterward, the lights dimmed, and the band started. Sue said she wasn't much of a dancer, and I sure as hell wasn't. So after a few songs, I excused myself and started walking the room. That's when I saw her. She was smoking hot, about 58 tall, brown hair, and a body to die for. She was wearing a blue strapless dress that hugged every curve of her body. I watched her for the next half hour as she danced a few semi-fast songs with 3 older gentlemen. Every time a slow dance started, she went back to her table and sat down. Even though she was asked, she never danced a slow dance with anyone. I slipped one of the members of the band a 140 bill and asked him to play 2 slow songs back to back, with the first one being You Look Lovely Tonight, and I didn't care what the second one was as long as it was slow. Just as the band started to play, I walked behind this angel and asked her to dance. I'm sorry, I only dance slow songs with my husband, she started to say without looking at me. Well, then I guess there will be no problem, I said, reaching in and grabbing her hand. She turned around and started to say something when she yelled out, Ethan? In the flesh. Now about that dance, I said, pulling Sophia to the floor. Ethan, is all I let her get out of her mouth. Don't talk, just dance with me, I told Sophia as I held her tight, moving across the floor. I never released her as the second song started. I was feeling her back and waist, and as the band played Nights in White Satin, I pulled her in even tighter. My body responded with the largest erection had in the previous year. This time, however, rolls of flab didn't hide it. Looks like someone missed me, Sophia whispered into my ear. She was right, I had missed her, but I wasn't about to go back to the life left behind. When the song ended, I didn't want to let her go, and I didn't. I guess we should talk one of these days, I started to say, still holding on to her hand. Why not now? Don't you think your date might get a little jealous? I replied. What date? I came with Lucas and Grace, she said, motioning to them on the dance floor as Lucas smiled back at me. They'll be back in a second, I told her as I went back to my table. You set me up, didn't you? I asked Jake. No, Lucas, Chloe, and I set both you and Sophia up, he said with a smile. Hell, Sue didn't even want to go. I had to bribe her to even come. So why don't you be a good little boy and get the hell out of here, and I'll see you sometime next week. Lucas and Grace were already back at the table by the time I returned. Think you two are pretty smart, don't you? I asked Lucas. He and Grace smiled at Sophia and me. I had no idea what they were planning, Sophia said as her eyes begged me to believe her. Dad, I didn't say where we'd be, just if you'd like to spend spring gala with us, Grace interrupted. The 3 of us, Lucas added. You two need to talk, and Lucas and I need to leave. I can't drink, I've eaten my fill, and am waddling like a duck on the dance floor in my condition, Grace said, rubbing her belly. So if you two don't mind, we're out of here. There were a million things I wanted to say, but Sophia started talking a mile a minute. You look so good, Ethan. How much weight have you lost? Where are you living? I lost track of you when you moved out of the rehab center. Are you dating? Are you seeing anyone in particular? And on and on and on. She continued. It was like she was trying to get all her questions answered in the first 5 minutes, because I guess she was afraid there wasn't going to be another chance. Let's get out of here and go somewhere where we can talk, I told Sophia, grabbing her wrap and leading her out to my car. Where are we going? You'll see, I replied. We drove in silence for the first 5 minutes, both of us almost afraid to say something that would break the mood. I haven't been dating and haven't been to bed with anyone if you're wondering, Sophia said without looking at me. And I never went to bed with Ryan or anyone else either, no matter what anyone told you. I know, I replied, keeping my eyes on the road. What do you mean you know? You were the one who accused me of cheating on you. I know that, and if I had proof that you were sleeping around, we wouldn't be in this car together right now, I told her. She was now quiet and deep in thought. It was just before midnight when I pulled into the driveway of our lake house. I left the lights on as I unlocked the door and came back to the car to get Sophia. Once inside, I started the gas fireplace and opened up a bottle of our favorite wine and poured us a glass. This is the way it started and ended 9 months ago, I said, handing her a glass. No, it didn't. It started a lot earlier than that. It just came to a head that night, she told me. You can't imagine how many nights I lay awake wondering how you must hate me for what I said and did to you, and that if you ever gave me another chance, I'll make it up to you, Sophia said, starting to tear up. I reached over and pulled her to me, covering her now salty lips. Our glasses of wine weren't drunk for quite a while after that. Our clothes were scattered on the living room floor, on the kitchen table, and the rest lying in a pile on the bedroom floor as we got naked and fell into bed. It had been a long time for the both of us. Grabbing my head, she pulled me up to her lips. I owe you this, she whispered as she moved south. After a hot session, she fell forward onto my chest as we started to come down, and we held each other tight, almost afraid of letting go. I guess that's what you call starting the new year off with a bang, I told her. I went back to the kitchen and grabbed our glasses of wine in the bottle. This conversation is going to take a while, I said, flopping back on the bed, glasses in hand. We toasted the new and hopefully better year. I know we have a lot to discuss, but I just want to tell you again how sorry I am, Sophia started. Stop, I interrupted. You're sorry. I'm sorry. The kids are sorry. Everyone is sorry, but that changes nothing. We need to change. You and I both need to change the way we look at what's left of our marriage. I won't go back to what I left. Rather get a divorce and start over, I told her. I don't want a divorce, Sophia said as she started to cry. Listen to what I'm saying. I don't want a divorce either, but I won't go back to the life I was living before all this happened. The house has to go, and you can move into the condo I'm renting for now. We can figure out later where we want to live. It's just that house has too many bad memories for me. But that's our home, she said, pleading, and I'm your husband. It should be a no-brainer for you which to choose. We'll sell the house, take what furniture we want, and either donate the rest or give it to the kids. I don't want the expense, upkeep, or responsibility of a big house any longer. A 2-bedroom condo is all we really need. I want to travel and see all the things I've put off all these years. I've been given a second chance, and am not going to squander it, I told her. But you and I both have commitments and responsibilities, she protested. Screw them all, I told her. They'll work and give them 100 when I'm there. But that's it. No more weekends, business traveling, or damn golf outings anymore. I want my life back. I want to have fun, and I want to feel excited about doing something new. And if I want to make love morning, noon, and night, I don't want a wife telling me she's not in the mood not anymore. Ethan, I don't know if I can do all that, Sophia replied. Well, then you have a choice to make, but make it quick. The train is leaving the station, and you're either on it or not. The wind on my face was warm as we rode the bike towards our third leg of the trip. Never seen the wine country and decided to take a week and visit a few vineyards, staying a night in each. We had left shortly after breakfast and figured that even with a little sightseeing, would still arrive early afternoon and have more than enough time for a tour. It had been a million years since been on a bike, and it had been only a 270 cubic centimeters Honda. The Harley we'd rented was about 1,350 cubic centimeters and weighed over 1,200 pounds. What a difference, but it handled like a dream, and for the first time in a long time, I felt happy and free as I felt her arms around me. We arrived, checked in, and made our way towards our cottage. I'm glad I came, she said, kissing me in the doorway. I'm glad you did too. I think we have just enough time to put our stuff away before the tour starts, I said, throwing our bags on one of the beds. Taking off her jacket and then peeling off her shirt, she stood there with her hands on her hips. You have a choice. We can take the tour, or I can give you a tour of my own, she said with a wicked look on her face. I shut and locked the door. Her tour was a lot more fun and rewarding. We showered, and while getting dressed for dinner, I pulled her into my arms and kissed her. Any regrets? I asked. None, Nina replied. So let's get moving. I'm starved. That's right, Nina. You see, Sophia missed the train. Ethan, we're not kids any longer. We just can't throw everything away and start again, Sophia said that night at the cabin as she tried to convince me. Let's give it 6 months and talk about it again. Okay? The divorce only took 3 months. Even though everyone thought I had lost my mind, I moved on. The kids took her side figures and Sophia decided to keep the house. We split up almost everything down the center as Jake gave the court my annual salary. I haven't spoken or seen Sophia since the divorce. I hope she's doing okay. You see, I met Nina at a 5K run one Friday morning. We both took first in our respective age groups, and after that, we started jogging together after work. After a long run one Sunday morning, we took a shower together and had wild monkey sex for the next 2 hours. That was 8 months ago. She's 6 years younger than I am, but she calls me her wild child. Her only question is, are you ever going to grow up? God, I hope not. Thanks for watching Ethan's journey. Do you think he made the right choices? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more inspiring stories.